Hello and welcome back to the channel. This is going to be a video on Expo router, and actually I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning. I've been working mostly with the template that gets generated for you that starts off with the two tabs and the context API for login, but in working on some other more advanced content, I realized that there was a lot of stuff happening underneath that I just took for granted because I was using that template. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to start from the scratch and just follow the directions on how to incorporate Expo router into an Expo app. So hopefully you find this helpful. Please make sure you like, subscribe, and let's get to the code. So, and also I'm just going to follow along with the documentation. So here in the doc it says here's how you create a regular Expo app. So let's just create a regular Expo app. And cd clear, and let's do that. My app, and we're going to call it my app router. And like I said, we're just going to follow along here. So let's see what we have here. Well, that's cranking up. What we want to do is we want to use the router. So routing, introduction, skip. So we're going to do this. We're going to do detailed instructions how to get started to an existing app. We're not going to follow the quick start where it just generates it all for you. We're going with 49. So we did our app. It's interesting they didn't, if I'm just following the directions after I created my app, they just assume that you know to change directories. So let's change directories into the app, my app router. So we're going to cd into there, and then we're going to copy all this stuff down here. So, and we're going to install all of that. And like I said, we're on 49. So let's open up, I'm using Visual Studio Code, and I'll put the terminal in the back because it'll be a minute before I get to it. So we're now here in my app router. We're going to go into package.json, and we're going to start to make these changes. So the first one is we need to add this as our new entry point. So here's the old one. Let's add the new one. All right, and then modify project configuration, add deep linking, and enable Metro Web in your app config. I don't think I'm going to use any of this stuff, but just to stay consistent, I will add it. So we've added the scheme. That probably should really be my app router. And then under web, let's add the bundler. Scroll down here to the bottom. Oh, I'm in the wrong place. I should be making these in app.json, not package.json. My bad. So let's save that, and let's open up app.json. And then now let's go up here. And, sorry. Let's add the bundler since I have it copied, so we'll add it in the web section here. And then we'll go back up to the top and we'll add the scheme. So right here, scheme, and we'll say my app router. And modify the config and add this new plugin. And for Expo below 49, we're not below 49, so the next steps. All right, so let's do an npm install, make sure we have everything. Okay, so our npm install is set, and now let's see if we can actually run this app and see if we get npm run iOS. So you can see here when we tried to start to run it, it noticed that we had web in there. So there's this extra install that you need to do. I don't think I'm going to be using web in this demo, but just for completeness, let's just add it. Okay, and now let's try and run again. Okay, and we have our app fired up. All right, that's pretty cool how it started up, and it's also pretty cool how it will just help you get started, because basically what it's saying is that to work in this new flow, this app.js does not matter anymore. It's looking for the app.index, and if we click here, it will create the app index for us. So you can see that it created the app folder and it put this index file in here for us. And we're up and running and ready to kind of start to do some interesting things. So this is the first page of the application. And like I said, we're going to try to follow along the documentation too. So let's create pages using Expo router. And it talks about how you can create pages. It gives us an idea of how we can kind of create pages here. Like I said, it's created this initial page for us. And as we scroll through the document, we'll work through all of the different examples of just routing to another page and then routing to a page that has additional content associated to it through a dynamic path. I think that's all we'll cover in this first one, and maybe a little bit of some layout stuff. So So let's just start with simply moving from page to page. And so let's go up here and we'll copy this page. Let's copy this. Let's go over here and create a new page, and we'll call this next page. Next page.js. And let's copy the index page. Copy, go into the next page, we'll paste this in here. Let's get some more room so we can see what's going on, and we're gonna change this title to say next page. And this is the next page of your app. This is file-based routing, so let's go back to, let's close some of these things we don't need. Let's go back to our index.js and let's add a link to go to the next page. So we'll put it right here, go to next page. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use a new component that they have called link. And we're just going to wrap this in a link. And then what that will do is it has an href for those who are familiar with just regular web pages. And then right here, we can just say next page. All right. And the style subtitle, let's make it a little bit bolder. So we'll say font weight 600. That's not what I wanted. I wanted to make my links different, so we're going to say this. So text button. And I don't think I can use that underscore there, so we're going to have to do this. Text button, and there we go. And let's put this back to normal. And then now let's put our text button on our links so then we know. So this is a text button. Okay, so now when I click on this, my new page that I created called next page, I navigate to my next page. So that's the basic navigation that you have. And then we can copy this, and let's go to our next page, and we can drop this in here, And we can, it's complaining about the button text. So let's move that over. That's style. Let's go to the next page, add this down on the bottom. All right, and then now we want to go back home. And since we're using this href here, the simple thing to do is to just put the slash, and then on next, so let's go to next page. Link, oh, I didn't import link. So let's import link here. Let's go to the next page, and now our next page, and now let's go back home. So you see we have the navigation that we're used to, but it's just kind of jumping around, and it's not really the behavior that you would expect. And the way to solve that is you can introduce, we can introduce some, do I want to introduce it? No, let's continue to talk about other ways to move around other than this link ref. So another way to do this is we can use the pressable. So we say pressable, and then let's copy this same text here, go back home, pressable, well, that's supposed to be inside of here. And then we could use the onPress, and inside of here they have a hook for us to get the router. So we can say const router equals use router. All right, and then let's import the use router. And then we can go down here and we can say router back, and it could just take us back. So let's go to next page, and then our pressable takes us back. So either one works. What you'll see in some other things is using the router gives you a bit more flexibility. And then now let's show an example of this dynamic route with the slugs, how you see they have it here. And so let's go over to here, and let's just create another page. So let's copy, let's paste, let's create another page, and then we'll just rename, we'll just kind of follow their approach, and we'll just say slug. Right, and so then now what will happen is that first we'll use this use local parameters. Actually, yeah, we can use this use local search params, and what that will do is it will pull off, it'll get this slug value for us and assign it. So what we can do is now we can say detail page, that's what we'll call our new page, our slug page. Actually, let's just call it that slug page. And then on here, let's put our slug, the value that we're getting from our slug, and we'll render that. And then we'll just remove this, and we'll just have our router back to take us back to the page. And then now we need to go to our index page and show how to navigate to it. So this is the next page. And then now this is, well, let's take this out of here and kind of separate it. So now for the slug page, to reach it, basically we're just passing a parameter. So right now with this link the way it is, this text that I'm providing will get passed as a slug. So we're going to say slug page PARAM. So that's what's going to get passed over as the parameter. And says here, let's say go to slug page, and then So that should push us to the slug page, and then if I go to my slug page, we should see our parameter printed. Let's see if we get it right this first time. So go to slug page, and I did not import use local params, so let's add that. And now let's go to slug page. All right, objects are not, why is this? It's too big, so let's move this down, make it a little bit smaller so that's actually visible. Slug param, we're just going to leave it as regular text so you can see it underneath there. And so that's to see this slug page param is the value. So if I go back to index and I set this to, let's just set it to my name. So if we go back home and I go to slug page, you can see the parameter is the value that I'm passing here on the URL. So that should pass the date over when I click the link. So let's go back. So you notice the date here, it clicked and it says 1932-42. Let's go back home. Oh, it is updating it. So we are getting the new date when I pass. I thought I was playing with this before and it wasn't passing the new date along. So we're getting the updated date as we move over to the page. And so you can see it's passing a new parameter over to the next page. All right, so now the next thing is we haven't used any of the usual navigation layouts that you're used to. And if you notice, as we move through the pages, we're not seeing any of the proper animation, and we're not getting a title bar or anything up at the top here. So at the top there. So let's try to get that going, and let's try and use layouts to get that there. And so here we go, just with the, once again, following the directions. Let's navigate between pages, library to navigate between different pages. We've already done that with the links. We did touch on the using buttons and stuff and the what they're calling imperative navigation by using a router. And we did already cover dynamic routes. I mean, this is another way to do it with the href. I didn't follow that, but let's just verify it all here. And so let's take this out now and let's pass the parameters they're looking for. And they're looking for a path name, which we know is just the slash and then slug. And then the params. This way seems a little complex, a little overly complex, but I'm certain there's a reason why someone might need it. And then here we'll just put our new date. And let's give this approach a try. So let's go to a slug page and we're still getting our date. All right. So we've covered the linking with dynamic routes, and by default, push, as it says, pushes stuff on top of the stack, and so you get a stack, and replace actually replaces the item in the stack. We're not using TypeScript, so we aren't getting the statically typed routes. We're not going to talk about the web behavior. Let's hop over to UI elements so we can get the headers and your normal navigation. So you know, like I said, as I'm moving around here, we're not seeing any of the animation or any of the header stuff here. And so we can address that with a layout. And so let's go back to our top. And if you look here in our app directory, we don't have a layout. So we'll go in here, we'll create a new file, JS, and we'll just copy this for now. And we'll just rename, this doesn't matter, but we'll just call this our root layout. And it's weird, whenever you first drop this in, it falls back to this page and you need to basically restart Expo. So you just come down here, stop your server, restart it. So I'll restart my simulator by pressing I. Alright, so it looks like restarting it did not remove this. So let me just close it, Expo, and restart it. Okay, we're back in. We have our layout in, but right now, since it's just using slot, you're not seeing anything happen. It's just going to render whatever is the page. Is just going to render it in there. But we can change this by creating a stack. So we'll put a stack here now. All right, and if you notice, as soon as you put the stack in, we see the title bar and the header appear on the top. You see as I go to the next pages, I'm getting the animation, the built-in back button. Now we can start to utilize all of the stuff we know about React navigation and headers and getting all the UI to appear the way we want it to appear. So for example, one approach that we can do is we can just add some options here. And we could just start off by saying, let's say header. We could just we can manage the headers internally. So we can say headers shown here, set it to false, right? So now there's no header. We're still getting the animation, but there's no header. And then what we could do is we can go into each one of our pages and manage it independently. So now I could come in here and I could come up to the top. Let's wrap this in a little fragment. And then I could go and do this. I can say screen, stack, stack, screen, and options. And I'm on my index page. So here I could say title, home page. And then header shown. And so now I have my title here on my home page. And I can manage this, pretty effectively by going across to all my pages now. So now that I have it here on my index, and go to my next page. This just gives you more granular control over how you want to manage the title for the page by doing it this way. You still can always just put it all, not put it all, but you could still just have headers shown at the top, but then inside of here you'd still have to modify all of your settings, all your specific options. So this is the home page, this is next page, and then we have our next page, our slug page, and then let's go to our slug page. Let's import our stack. And let's go down here and close it out. And let's change our title. On our next page, we have our slug page, and we have all the information that we needed to kind of come along. And it's all because of the way we set up our root layout and kind of defined what it is. Also notice I don't have to put all the screens and all the other stuff here. With the file-based layout, it works appropriately for us. It manages all of the stuff that we need to manage. And honestly, I think it's kind of pretty neat how it just all works out now. So if we take a look back at our directory, I'm just dropping files in here. And by me dropping files in here, giving a specific layout here in my root that I want to use the Stack Navigator, it's including all of these pages in that initial stack, and then I get all the animation and the navigation UI with the back buttons and everything exactly the way that I want it to be. So I think this is pretty awesome. And I think, like I said, I think I just want to keep these short. So this one is just kind of the first intro. And then what I'll do next is I think I'll create another short one that kind of goes into some of these other layouts. I'll probably do a tab navigation layout next because it's a little bit more detailed. And when I go into the tab navigation, I'll show a tab navigation with detail screens in it, so you can also see how you kind of have to navigate down to the next level to get everything to work properly. I'll also drop all the source code along with the video. Hopefully you found this enjoyable. Please make sure you like and subscribe and leave a comment and let me know what your thoughts are. Thanks and bye.